Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be going over my third round game from the National Go Center's fall tournament last November. If you didn't see last video, I won my game after killing a pretty big dragon in the center, which put my record at 1-1. So my third round opponent is a 5-don. I have the black stones, they have the white stones. Let's get right into it. So this sort of low Knight Shamari is kind of, when AIs first came out, they definitely didn't like this move. So a lot of players were like, okay, let's not play this move anymore. But now a few years have passed, and now it's kind of, I still don't think AIs love it, but it's starting to come back into, a little bit at least, just back into the realm of possibility. Maybe people just wanted to switch things up, but it's now, you're starting to see this more often in amateur and professional games. So white pincers, breaking up the bottom, and then I take the 3-3. And white plays a variation towards the left side, which makes sense, and for sente. White approaches, kick, and jump, and then white plays an extension. Now, I'm looking at this stone at f3, and I kind of don't know how I want to play it. And what I mean by that is, first, I add this stone. That'll help any invasion up the top while putting pressure on the 3 stone, so white answers. So, even more so now, how do I want to play from this? Because if I just jump like this, white will probably just extend, and these 2 stones are just floating. They don't have a base, they're running towards some white stones on the left side. Wouldn't be so great. If I take the 3-3, same sort of deal as opposed to taking or running into the center, take the corner. Honestly, white might block this way, and I'll just play a simple variation. I'm not sure which is, I'm sure this isn't the best for white, but let's just say something like this happens. You can see white's stone on the left is very efficient. White's wall has no imperfections in it. And yeah, this seems, all I take is like 6 points in the corner, which isn't great. So that's why I really want to emphasize the bottom, because that's bigger than, at least I thought, is bigger than the corner and jumping out. So kind of forcing white to have to take this stone. So white does. And then I'm not a big fan of my next move. I play immediately to the left side. So in general, if it's still early on in the game and you can build or reduce your opponent, you should generally try to build first, because what you want it to be is almost like a game of chicken of who's going to invade first, because invading usually means you're the weak player or weaker in the area. So by playing here, I'm going to be the one with the weak group first on the board. And in this case, I'm not even splitting a group into two weaker groups. I'm just making a weak group that's going to have to fend for itself. So here, I think I should just play this jump, either this jump or this jump. Both of these jumps are, for example, this one, they are both activating something. So this jump is activating this f3 stone a little bit more. Jumping here is actually activating me coming in from this direction, going after the 3 stones. And you can see by playing this jump, it is the area where 2 moyos meet. If I do something else, white can play this, flatten my top while building the left side. So I think the upper side is definitely, or at least this kind of jump here, not that one, here, is very important for both sides. You can see it gets black up on the 5th line, and once again is threatening to come in, potentially. So playing this one, not a big fan. The reason why I didn't do a normal, invasion, I guess, quote-unquote normal, is this would get kicked and attacked to oblivion. It's so heavy, can't get an extension on either side. It's just 2 stones, so it's very cramped. So that's why, if you can't get a good extension, you want to still invade, you should look to attach. this will not allow white to use their strength in the area. So white hanes here, knight descend, and white actually plays a very surprising move, and it's very surprising, and you'll see why. White plays e3. Now, I get that e3 is very big. It keeps the corner. It, of course, starts to capture this stone, and if this stone's weaker and white's stronger on the bottom left, that means invading the bottom right will be easier. However, that's not where the hot spot on the board is. Black invaded white's left side. White should just continue on the left side. This is kind of what I was expecting. I would play something like this, Atari, extend up. But you can see white can just gain a lot of points, and black's not getting anything. And there's no way, unless white does something very incorrect, there's no way black's going to be able to take semeai to activate this bottom. So no matter what, white's going to get the move. Like, let's just play a few moves like this. Like, black has to answer all these moves, and then white can play back anyways. There's no way, like, at this point, black can ignore and allow white to turn here. There's just no way. Like, black is way too weak in this area. So whenever there's some sort of fight, especially when your opponent's invading you, you have to take the advantage. You have to gain something for it. Ignoring it like this, allowing black to get this huge turn. Look how big of a difference that is. Look, when white blocks here, white starts to make points here. White's weakening black's 2 stones here by taking white's liberties. Going here and black turning here, look how much weaker white looks and how much stronger black looks. This is kind of that $1 million bend almost. That's is very good to get. White has to extend. Hane. White covers, and then I just fix my shape. While I can get a free Atari. You can see after Atari, I still have cuts. And if I then play this move, white can just cut anyways. If I fix the cut somehow, white can then poke here. So I just wanted to settle. Getting this move basically guarantees life. So even if white hanes, I can just extend, and you can see how great black shape is. So what should have been a great attack for white, if white just answers, turns into an easy life for black. So I was very happy with this result. I was expecting when I attached here, like, okay, how am I going to have to play lightly? How am I going to have to sacrifice? How am I going to get out? And then all my problems just went away. So if there's ever, you have to think about where's the hot spot on the board. Always remember, important moves before big moves. And this fight on the left was, of course, much more important. And then white plays here. So white kind of, in this game, kind of reminded me of me from the first game. And what I mean by that is, whenever white had semeai, white doesn't play the best move or just gives up semeai immediately. Like even here, this move white plays gives up semeai immediately and allows black to play this one. Playing here gives up semeai immediately. It's not threatening anything. Sure, is it protecting white's right side? Sure, but even if it's protecting white's right side, what else is it doing? So you always have to think about efficiency. You always want your moves to have more than one purpose. If it has 2, that's good. If it has 3, that's great. If it has 4, that's the perfect move. So even in white attaching here or playing this sort of move, you can see playing closer to the black corner has a bigger effect on the corner. If black ignores, there's more aji to kind of exploit the corner, or even simply white can just attach here now. So there's better endgame. But by playing here, you can see none of that exists. Not there. Here. You see none of that corner endgame stuff exists. And regardless of that, it's not the biggest side either. White has a super strong formation here and a lone blackstone here. White should just attack. This has to be the move. White's spending so many moves here, so white has to attack this stone. This move, if you watch the first game review for this tournament, this was reminding me of when I had Sente in the middle game and I just calmly and slowly made 2 space extensions along the bottom. Very slow, lost Sente, and not very big either. So I just Hane and make my corner bigger. And the point of this is white is, of course, again, does have a purpose. Is white is kind of worried about this sort of move, which activates the right side, like a black invasion potentially, looking at R12. Or black could also come in immediately. Black could come in immediately as well. So white's actually looking to protect this. So once white protected, I'm like, okay, are you still going to protect? Right? Are you still going to play here? Because if we change the order of moves, like let's say Hane, and then white has Sente, white probably would never play at R8. That's way too close to white's strength. White is pretty over-concentrated here. So because white played that first, though, you can see now white doesn't want to play this because it's over-concentrated. But that means later, no matter where white goes, this clamp works. So that means white's shape is still not perfect. There's some weakness there. So that's why I played the Hane and connect. Big for the corner, and I'm creating weakness again that I know white won't fix, at least not directly. But white attaches. So now white is playing on the bottom. And white wants me to extend up or do anything local so white can get the extension here. And this extension is so big, whoever gets the base here is going to have a big advantage. So that's why, even though attachments are usually Sente, I pincered. Now here, white had a very good Teisuji that white missed. In the game, white Ataris, and I just connect. And whenever your opponent has any sort of weakness, and this, of course, means cuts, you generally do not want to force them to connect it, because that's potential Aji lost. It's Aji Keshi. And you can see when black just connects, white doesn't have a base yet. White just has 2 cuts. Black's shape is very strong. So white doesn't want to Atari here because it just helps black. Remember, white's the one invading here. White's the one outnumbered here. So white needs to think lightly. So if white cuts, because this is what white wants, black descends, and white would like to be able to capture, but of course black can connect back. So the question is, how can white threaten to cut here, but if black connects, get something for it? So white should play this move. This move is a big opportunity that white missed. So if black answers on the bottom, then white can cut in the lower right, and you can see now white can capture the 2. And even though there's a cut here and it looks pretty scary for white, white just captures the 2 stones. And white is a success for white. If black fixes in the corner, though, now white can get some sort of advantage on the bottom, whether white Hane's here or Hane's here. If white Hane's here, black would extend, of course, and then white does something. But you can see how white was able to get some Sentes by leaving this cut here. So you can see white is threatening both of these moves, the game move and the game move are both threatening to capture this cutting stone, right? This one and this one, they're both threatening to capture, but what else are they doing? So the Atari is threatening to capture, but that's it. Black just connects, white doesn't get anything. This move is still threatening to capture, but white's able to take some advantage on the bottom. If black fixes. So yeah, big missed opportunity for white. I should also mention there's no really other move black can play. If black just takes the stone, white of course Ataris and then takes a big advantage on the bottom still. So nothing really black can do there. Or yeah, nothing really black can do on the bottom. So yeah, this was a big missed chance for white. So that probably means for black, oops, sorry. For black, this move's probably a little close. This one. Maybe, not sure how black can avoid it, because playing this is too passive. Because white connecting is now semeai, and then white just does something, I'm not sure, but yeah, that just shows how good of a move playing on the bottom is, I guess. So as opposed to white having access into the center, weakening black's bottom, white now has a pretty heavy shape, actually. So of course I split white, keeping white disconnected. White makes a tiger's mouth and then pushes here, and then jumps here. And then I block. Now there's a huge move on the board, and whoever gets it is gonna have a big advantage. It's of course M4. Notice if black gets M4, it forces white up, so it's basically semeai. White has to go here, and black has a better base this way. If white gets that move, white is having more access into the center, and you can see really weakening that bottom group. So when I played this, white really needed to play here. This is white's weaker group than the right side, so white needs to play there. So my move, of course, should be there. So that's my mistake as well. But white answers. I think white was thinking black was weak. Like, going here, let's just say white does take gote. He probably doesn't want to see me live easily on the bottom right. But of course, that's too wishful. White's much weaker than black. Black has very good eye space. White barely has an eye. So, and then same thing here. I think the clamp is okay. But I think I should just leave it after this. Because this move is actually gote. Again, if white takes M4, if I take, white just extends up and white's A-okay. If I try to double hane here, white just blocks and there's no continuation for black. Black takes, white just connects, and again, white is okay. If black cuts though, trying to capture everything, when white connects, you can see white's threatening to capture at P12 or cutting at S11. So there's actually no real danger on the right side, but white answers. So then now I get the very important move, and then jump, and now extend. And before I get into what happens next, I want to show let's just assume white's alive here. Just make white alive. So white's alive there. Maybe black would next think about activating this. Now this move doesn't work. It does not work. White will cover. Black will try to hane. White can Atari first. Atari next. And then connect. And this forces black to have to extend and then descend. And you can see black can live, but it's so painful. Black takes 2 points. White gets even more forcing moves with this, and you can see the bottom just gets obliterated. The reason why white has to Atari first is if white tries double haneing first, this would allow black to cut and then connect. So it forces white playing J2 to be an Atari. So that's why here you generally don't want to give your opponent stones like this, but it's the only way for white to cut. So basically black will never save that stone, at least while the bottom is weak. But what happens in the game, is white plays this move, which looks like a good spot, but when black descends, let's again give black sente. Now black could play here. And again, if white blocks and black hanes, white would like to be able to cut, but now it's impossible. If white tries the same sequence, you can see now black's just connected. White connects there, black gets to connect. So this has a major effect on the lower left. This move helps black. It helps black later to play g3. And so what white does in the game is play here, which again is preventing that, but white caused that move to work at g3. So one, if white had just not played anything, black again cannot play g3. But because white played this move, it activated the aji. So this move is a horrible exchange. If anything, let's say white did want to kind of threaten the base, white can just go here. This move, if black blocks, doesn't give black ice, or it gives black ice space, but black still doesn't have two eyes. That shape is not an alive shape. So it's like white just played at the shape point, kind of thinking, oh, I can attack or maybe even kill, but that helped black significantly. So in general, if you are trying to attack your opponent, don't throw in stones into their base, because that's going to make their base generally bigger. What you want to do is reduce their eye space. So that's why this move reduces eye space. The reason why you want to kind of reduce eye space first is because if they live, you have gained points. This move is gaining white points even if black lives. However, if you throw in and black ends up living, you're losing points this way. And in this case, white even lost sente in this very crucial fight. So this allowed black to jump. So again, I think white should not even think about the bottom and just help this lower right group. That's definitely the play. So I got to jump, and then jump out again. And then white plays this. This is too much because, of course, black's going to peep, or double peep, I should say. White needs to just diagonal here. Very solid, can't be cut, no weakness. So black is there, and white does get to make good shape, but black just gets to cut there. And then white played this. So which group, don't even think about living locally, which group has more access into the center? Is it the right group or the bottom group for white? And of course, it's the right group. You can see this white group here has about 6 lines to jump into the center. And you cannot cover 6 lines in one move. However, for white here, white has only 2 lines to jump into the center. And that you can cover in 2 moves, or in 1 move. So when white plays here, I just ignore. So this is kind of, whenever you're playing, you need to keep your eye on the prize. When I push here, I'm attacking the bottom side, and I am expecting a white response. The fact that white ignored, who cares what they do? I expected a white response. Since white didn't respond, I'm going to get my follow-up. So it doesn't matter, he Atari that stone, and later he can, again, let's just assume white lives. He can capture here. I got my move. I got what I wanted. And of course, in this case, white cannot play there. So white plays there, and now I take, again, all I wanted was to cover white. Now white cannot run out. Doesn't matter if white can live. All I wanted was to surround white. So now I take white Ataris. I just connect again. I don't care about white living there. I'm just trying to keep white separated and keep white out of the center. White plays there. Not really sure the point of this exchange. This actually helps black a lot. Because this move, white maybe would have liked to have played here, which helps the right side. And maybe they didn't like, I don't know if they do something. Maybe they didn't like me going here, but I would never play this because it forces white to capture my stone. So again, not sure the point of this. White connects, forces me to go there, and now white covers. Skip the move, but white, or I push. White cuts, doesn't really do much. Cover, take away eye space, and then I play there. The idea of playing here is if I directly take this out, white can wedge here, and if I connect, white can cut, and if I save, then white can escape through. Now, is this still playable because the right side's really weak? Sure, but I was really focusing on the bottom group here. So I play here, saying, okay, again, white, you can live if you can. All I care about is keeping you confined to the bottom right. And then this move, now a lot of people's instincts would be to capture this. But this would be exactly what white wanted. White would be able to Atari, and if I take, and then escape through. Again, all I'm trying to do is keep white from getting out. So whenever you're reading, and you always assume sente moves are sente. So I was viewing this move as sente, right? There's no way I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to play this no matter what. So now if white plays here, you can see that n8 playing here isn't a good move. I have to play this one. So it's a little kind of tip and trick you can do when you're reading is assume sente moves are always sente. So because I know, even though white didn't play m8 directly, I know it's sente. So I can play accordingly. So I just play from this side, and you can see it just, white still gets sealed in that way. White takes, I take out the eye, white plays there. This move is very painful because it hurts the right side immensely, but yeah, I guess white was thinking, because this is kind of white's last chance to ko, which is kind of a Hail Mary, but yeah, I guess they wanted to make sure they had an eye or something. I'm not sure. They connect. Now here's an important thing. How do you take out that eye at the bottom? How do you take out that eye at the bottom? Because if you Atari, white's going to make a ko. And the thing about this ko is, let's say white wins this ko. When white wins this ko, when white makes the eye and captures, you can see this actually puts the 4 stones in Atari. Now, now that white's alive, are those 4 stones very important? Not really, but it is something to consider. But if you can avoid the ko, you should. So black can throw in there. Notice my opponent's key move is your key move. Notice this move allows white to start to make an eye at Q1. So if you play there, if white comes down, you throw in, capture, and then throw in again. So it's still a false eye. When white connects, if white were to Atari, all black has to do is just capture here. Because when white captures back, then you can throw in. Capturing here is important. If you do not do anything, because you might think, oh, well, that's a false eye still. When white captures, because this is an Atari, you cannot throw in at 0-1. You have to take, and then white can fill in. So that capture is important. White pushes and then cuts, but this ko is very unwinnable for white. Yeah, white doesn't have a lot of liberties. White's not directly threatening anything, so it's very dangerous. A very bad ko for white. Connect. Yeah, white really has to connect there because while technically I can't capture the cunning stone directly, if white tries to kill, white has to go here. Atari. So locally I'm not alive, but of course I can play Atari and then Atari. And this move by itself you can see is threatening this ladder here. So if white answers that, I can clamp here, and black and white's captured, so I can live regardless. So this is just unplayable for white. So they connect, and then I live, and they extend. But again, I am so strong in the area, doesn't matter. White peeps, and don't get distracted by what white's doing. Just keep in mind what's your win condition. What is white actually trying to do? So I just net. No complications. If I just capture the lower right, there's no way white can win. White pushes, but again, I'm just, okay, now I have center influence. Yeah, so at this point, white is trying to get back by ignoring, but at this point, it's just the lower right is too big. Yeah, I can even invade because I can descend here. I can descend here looking to connect to either side. And again, even though white took some points in the upper right, as long as I'm alive, it's nothing. White descends, so I jump up. Again, I was kind of treating these as kind of a backdoor connection, B16 and B12. So once white went there, I can still connect back to B12, so there's no way white can capture me. So white's trying, but at this point it's just nothing white can do. White again tries, but here it's just white just falls apart. And resigns here. So again, the key for this game was white was ignoring when white couldn't. White had to play in the right spots, but was not. Let's do it this way. Starting with the left side, like there's no reason to ignore here. There's no reason to. Just answer, keep black under pressure on the left, and get your move on the bottom anyways. Thing with this move, it's one purpose. It does start to protect the right side, but it has no follow-ups. And then lastly, failing to get, both of us actually, failing to get this important M4 move. Like this move here, white just goes here, and white's okay. But, yeah, so won my third round game. I was very happy with this game too. I feel like I made very few reading errors, and that's always a good feeling. So very happy with this game. If you have any questions about this game, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to read them. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video.